Hi, my name is Kim, grateful, recovering, compulsive overeater. I measure off the Gray Sheet food plan, turn to my sponsor every day, eat exactly what I commit, don't eat between meals, and abstinence is by far the most important thing in my life and the reason I am alive. And my abstinence date is September 22nd, 2014. And I just want to say that every time I say that, I think I'm lying. I'm like, how do I know that it started that day? Like maybe, and that's just a, like that's kind of just an example of what goes on between the ears. Like that's me. I'm the kind of person who hears a, you know, fire truck 5 blocks away. If I'm not at home, I'm sure it's my house. And I think I've just learned to accept that. I did not plan on speaking about that, but there you have it. Um, and then sometimes too, when I hear like somebody with 90 days or more is going to speak, I'm just like, oh, okay, who has 90 days or more? Like, it's weird. And I think, anyway, so I'll give the basics of my story, but I think most people here have heard it. But I feel like I hear people's stories over and over and over, and it's always different, either because I'm paying attention differently, or I know for me, every day is like in some ways day one of like a new experience or epiphany or level of understanding of something, even if it's bad, like even if it's a bad behavior that I don't want to repeat. Like every day somehow seems to be, new. So I feel like there's always something new to share if I remain open. And but I'll just give the brief survey for anybody that needs to hear it or hasn't heard it or whatever, because that's what I'm supposed to do. So yeah, no eating disorder as far as I could tell till I was 16 and decided to starve and starved for a whole, I know there are parts of the story that Victor likes, but I'm just going to run through them. And just like basically that was it. Just starved until I didn't starve and then binged. And like it's like an alcoholic, like it's all or nothing, and so but I could never get an understanding. Like even when I never got to big numbers, and I don't know if I would have, I probably would have like died in a car accident or something for rushing to get my fix. I was a health food junkie and I went to school Midtown Manhattan and lived on the Upper West Side, 109th Street. So would walk from 46th to 109th after, fasting all day and then just like binge my way up in the health food stores. And and those can be tricky because those are like you get stuff in bulk, and but manage. And also when I would binge, then I would just go running, but always this thing of just like, even when I was at my goal weight, whatever that was, two, like, there is no weight that makes sense to me. But even if I just like felt like I looked good that day, it was like being all dressed up with nowhere to go. Like I realized, the other day I was thinking about, I was like, I had no internal life. Like the only thing to do, and I kind of knew it would happen without knowing what to call it. It's just like, oh, wow, I look great and I finally fit in these clothes and my face isn't bloated. Like, even though I wasn't big numbers, I was bloated all the time. Like, I would binge so badly, I would wake up and my hands would be swollen. Like, if nothing else, these 10 years, I have not woken up with like swollen hands and like swollen eyes and that feeling of just I mean, I still can wake up with self-hatred if I want to, but like there's no like substance related to it. It's not like I shouldn't have done that. It's like I hate myself, but that's like a whole different category. And so when, I just felt, it would be like binging and then like starving for 5 days, whatever. And like didn't know what to do with that time then. So like all that was left was to just go back and binge. It's not like I had an inner life or that I developed a personality. Like I don't even know how I had, if I had a person, like I don't know who I was. I managed to get like a BA and two masters and have a career, but I don't know how that happened in a way because it was really, I was the kind of person that would walk home from school and I like a lot, my binge foods were a lot of the things that we do eat on Gray Sheet. And I would just have a day where maybe I would eat like, let's say 20 of the fruits were allowed in the morning, you know, like have one and then, okay, so that's probably 100 calories. And then just like do that the rest of the day. And then once, if I had, in my mind more than 1,000, well, then I might as well binge. Like it's insane. So that's all I can talk about is just like the insanity, and I hear a lot of people saying, that do, came from big numbers and qualify and, speak about when they were younger would never be called onto, the teams or anything and not asked to prom and all this. I was like, I went to art school. I don't even know if we had a prom, but it was the same for me. Nobody wanted me on their team. I was like, a, like just, and this was before the eating disorder. Like I just had I was not in my body. There was no like connection. And what I discovered, I think it was after many years in OA, where I started, where I was like, wow, it was really just self-hatred. Like even though the food wasn't the issue, it was the self-hatred. I was going to be a something, could have been a crackhead, whatever. It just happened. Like my brother became, but but it just happened to be food. But it began with the self-hatred. Like by age 4, I would look in the mirror and hate myself, or people would call me skinny and I'd just be insulted, or people would say I was cute and I'd want to be pretty, and or I would like put things in my pants to make it look like I had a figure, before I developed. Just anything, just like hatred. And I actually don't, despite what I said before, like I don't have that today, because I think the difference is, even if I do feel that, I know that it's not based on reality. I mean, other people might hate me, but like, okay, I can't do anything about that. Um, and then I know I just have to fix my thinking, get on a meeting. Already this morning, I was like, I don't want to share. What am I going to share about? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, just talk, like, just connect, And so so somebody after college, a guy actually who was pretty abusive to me, but then I realized this like maybe a year ago when I was either sharing or qualifying, like he was the only boyfriend I ever had that like was physically abusive with me. Like I somehow forgot because it just made sense. And like for whatever reason, because it made sense, because I would rather like be with him being abusive to me. I mean, it wasn't like horrible, but that like that's even so stupid to say. Like you just don't hate another person. Um, and I would rather be with him in that trauma, A, because it kept me skinny, because who could eat? Like I was freaked out all the time. And plus he had money, so we could afford like the expensive Japanese food, which didn't have calories in my mind. But I would rather be with him in that trauma than go home and be alone with the refrigerator. Like I really got to identify that recently. And sorry, that's my pet peeve. I hate when people do that in the middle of when I'm speaking. But yeah, so that was that's how it was. And ironically, he was the one that brought me to my first OA meeting. And he kept saying, you need to go to OA, you need to go. And I'm thinking, Overeaters Anonymous, do you see how thin I am? Like, why would I need that? And then one day he just said, it's the way you control your food. And I was like, oh, yeah. And I went, and some people have heard me say this, like the bizarreness. Like, I went to my first OA meeting, and the person speaking was a film theorist, which I was going to get a master's in, like film theory, not like accounting or dentistry or something, like film theory, not even film production. It's like, what? How does that happen? And yeah, and in my first meeting, that's it. I was sold. And it was really like that was like the beginning of the spiritual journey. Even if I binged after, and OA is OA, and yay, it was great for a while, and how that was great for a while, but no matter what, that was just a day that changed the rest of my life, whether in OA or not OA. And I was actually able to stay abstinent in the way that I defined it with my first sponsor in OA for a really long time, because, well, I mean, of course, it included everything like wine at lunch, but I still had this idea that like I can't eat a meal in between 3 meals. And that stayed way after I was in OA. Like that just stayed with me for some reason. That could have been diet head, I don't know. And then it wasn't really, and then like I drank a lot of wine, had a lot of boyfriends. I guess they were boyfriends, I don't even know. And then moved to Israel. That's where I really started binging again for the first time. And so that was already like a few decades after I had first started in OA. So I started a bunch of OA meetings there. And yeah, I just binged a lot. Oh my God, a lot. And yeah, and then it was after I had
5 minutes.
thanks. It was after I had my kid, and I had known somebody that was doing how, because they were also going to the same OA meetings. And so I took a house sponsor. That was also, another level of spiritual life and weighing my vegetables, which is something like I never would have thought to do. Um, but I think that was good because that was a precedent. And then I moved to the States, West Coast, where I had never lived before. Don't know why, I mean, I do know how I wound up here, but anyway, and then started binging again on substitute sugars. In the meantime, I started to go to what I thought were just OA meetings, but they were gray sheet meetings, and people just seemed really friendly. I'll try to wrap this up. And yeah, and somebody was qualifying on that she had bottomed out on substitute sugars, which was really what I had bottomed out on, the healthy kind, mind you, for the most part, but just like chug a lug. And so I made my abstinence that day, no substitute sugars. Like for me, that was just for me because I know, and like, so anytime I have a new sponsor, like, just so you know, day one, if I pick that substitute sugar up in any form, that's day one, intentionally. And I think that that's has helped my abstinence because the craving, if I had one little green packet or yellow packet, maybe it would be a week, maybe it would be a year, but there's no way I wouldn't pick up again. Um, yeah, I just know that. Anyway, so I have really not a lot of time, but so 10 years back to back abstinence, and yeah, it's all been wonderful. No, it's been life. It's been life. And yeah, it's been life as a sole parent of now a 16-year-old. So yeah, that's my world. So you can just fill in the blanks. And thank you for the opportunity to speak. And Stephanie and Victor and my buddy Karen for timing. And thank you all for being here and for making sure I stay abstinent.